welcome to another Teacher's Corner. I'm Teacher Kirby, and this episode we're going to be talking about consoles and sets to support antiproton builds. Antiproton builds have been quite popular, and so let's get rolling here. So first we have our general antiproton supporting damaged consoles. These are consoles that add specifically antiproton damage. We have our antiproton mag regulator. This is your standard run-of-the-mill antiproton console. Now, if you have just started out and haven't had a chance to get anything else yet, this is a good place filler for your tactical consoles. Okay, and moving right along, we have the auto targeting module. Comes from the Dyson reputation. Now if you look at this, while it does give a increase to antiproton damage, it is significantly less than your standard antiproton meg regulator, and therefore the meg regulator is preferred over the auto targeting module. Alright, then we have from our events, we have the crystalline absorption matrix, and this gives just a flat 17.8% antiproton damage. It also gives a 17.8% energy damage resistance rating, and it does have a clickable that can be at least somewhat useful. The Voth phase decoy, it gives a little bit more antiproton damage than the absorption matrix at 20%. However, the other passive, the 5% maximum hull capacity, kind of meh, and the clicky on here can actually cause you problems. So the clicky spawns a decoy and cloaks you. So, and while you're cloaked, you can't fire. So basically the decoy can, or not the decoy, the clickable on the Voth phase decoy can hinder your ability to do DPS because it cloaks you. Alright. So moving right along, we have the Baul linked sentry coordination matrix. This comes from the Lobby store and is part of the Baul linked sentry set. Now this gives a flat 23.3% antiproton damage and is a universal console, so it can be put anywhere, and is, of the ones we've gone over so far, is probably the most valuable. Alright, then we have the polymorphic probe array. Again, this is a universal console. This gives a 25% boost to antiproton damage, a 20 starship control expertise boost, and has a viral probe that can actually be somewhat useful. And then the so the Baul Sentry removes incoming control effects and makes you immune to control for 5 seconds. So in other words, you won't suffer the effects of gravity well and tractor beams and things like that. Alright, so moving right along, so far the Baul Sentry and the polymorphic probe array are the two most recommended. And then we have, here we come to the third most recommended, which is the temporal anomaly projector. This gives 20.9% in physical damage, antiproton damage, and radiation damage, as well as giving a boost to starship shield regeneration. This is actually a pretty good console, gives some good bang for its buck, and launches a temporal anomaly toward the target foe where it lingers for 10 seconds, which the anomaly does anti-proton damage to your enemies. So if you are doing anti-proton damage and you chuck this out, it's going to do more anti-proton damage if you have consoles and whatnot to boost anti-proton damage. So quite a nifty little thing there, supporting things. So this is definitely a recommended console. And then we come to things we can get from the fleet. We have the energetic protomatter matrix, and this goes in the tactical slot, and it does give a good amount of anti-proton damage, and also has projectile damage, and gives a passive where it helps to heal you, make you a little more survivable. Then you have the vulnerability exploiter. Exploiters generally aren't recommended because they boost critical severity instead of critical chance, but they do give a 37.5% boost to anti-proton damage. The most recommended of the bunch is your vulnerability locator. It gives a flat 37.5% to anti-proton damage and also as high as 1.9% boost to critical chance. There's your bread and butter right there for your tactical consoles, is your vulnerability locator. And then we have from starships, we have the aligned anti-proton shielding, and this gives a bit of anti-proton damage, 17.1%, and a bit of shield capacity, again 17.1%, as well as some incoming damage buffs and weapon haste to you for as the clickable. Then you have Alliance Tactics, which gives 17.1% anti-proton damage, and then you have Sentry Mode, which again comes from a starship, and that is 17.1% anti-proton damage and control expertise, and it summons sentries to aid you in combat as the clickable. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Then we have our Antiproton sets, and you're going, oh look, there's a lot, so I'm going to skip over the ones that are all damage or critical damage or cannon or things like that. I want to just focus on anti-proton. So we have the Ancient Obelisk Antiproton or Ancient Obelisk Technology Set. The two-piece, we'll take a closer look at that in a moment. The Nukara Appropriated Munitions two-piece, and pretty new to the bunch, which is why it isn't listed here yet, the Linked Sentry set from the Lobby store, which is the part of the Baul set. Alright, which is the Baul set. So let's take a closer look at these. So our Linked Sentry set, you're looking for two pieces because you want this two-piece set bonus right here. Alright, so let's look at what we got here for this set. We have the Antiproton Omni beam array, and exactly what you'd expect. It's a Antiproton Omni beam array. It does have the Baul refraction, which means each shot chains to an additional target for 5% of attack damage. We have the Baul linked Sentry Antiproton Kinetic Torpedo, and again this also has Baul refraction, where each shot chains to an additional target. And we have the Baul linked Sentry Coordination Matrix, which is the console we've been on about, And this one gives a total of, at epic, let me double check that. At epic, very rare, or at epic Mark 15, it gives 35% antiproton damage with 3.9% hull capacity and removes incoming control effects. Okay, so with the two-piece bonus, so Baul antiproton weapons chain an additional time. So if you already have a Baul antiproton weapon that chains one time, now it will chain twice. Okay. Other antiproton energy weapons gain Baul refraction. So if you're using a normal antiproton weapon, now it chains just like the Baul weapons do. Baul refraction deals 100 or plus 100% bonus damage, so it effectively doubles the amount of damage that it does. And Baul refraction, each shot chains to an additional target for 5% of attack damage. And of course, skills that affect the ability. So you want the two-piece set because it's going to give you the best shot at increasing that refraction damage. Alright, moving right along. We have the Ancient Omni or Ancient Obelisk Technology Set. This one is an older set, much older, comes from the very beginning times of the game when we first had Sphere of Influence released, was when this came out. So it has 3 pieces. We're looking for 2. It has the Obelisk Subspace Rift Warp Core, the Ancient Omnidirectional Antiproton Beam Array, and the Universal Console Reactive Antiproton Cascade Emitter. Okay, so the thing to remember with the Warp Core here, this Warp Core does not have the AMP modifier on it. The AMP modifier is a popular modifier for DPS builds. This Warp Core does not get that modifier. It also doesn't have a reduction to the cost of firing weapons, which is something that the more popular Warp Cores do have. So, things to consider when choosing if you're going to use this Warp Core or not. The Ancient Omnidirectional Antiproton Beam Array, I have to double check, but I believe that you will not be able to use this with the Baul Sentry set. So something else to consider there. And the Reactive Antiproton Cascade Emitter will take up a console slot. And you're looking at the ability, so it taunts the target and up to 4 other targets within 5 kilometers, forcing these targets to attack your ship for 20 seconds. So you better be sure you can handle that. But it does give you plus 100 energy damage resistance rating for 20 seconds and 50% shield resistance for 20 seconds. Then after 10 seconds, it grants the Reactive Antiproton Cascade, where it reflects energy damage back at the attacker for 200% of the incoming damage, up to 4 times per second. Alright, now that does have a 1-minute recharge. And we're looking for the 2-piece set, which is a flat out 10% bonus antiproton damage. So that is a category 2 bonus, which is usually pretty sought after. Alright, and last but not least, we have the Nukara Appropriated Munitions Set. Again, we're looking for the 2-piece bonus from here. Or the 2-piece bonus is the one that gives a boost to antiproton damage. Alright, so we have the Particle Converter, the Web Mine Launcher, and the Hyper Dual Refracting Beam Bank. The hyperdual refracting beam bank originally came in just Tetrion, but the tier 6 variant that gets unlocked is an antiproton variant, which is why the console now boosts, or with the two-piece set now boosts antiproton as well. Alright, so we got here with the console, the particle converter, we have +5 shield power setting and some EPG or exotic particle generators, some drain expertise, and some accuracy. With the web mine launcher, generally mines are not heavily recommended, and web mines even less so. Their usefulness is debatable, so consider that when considering if this is one of the two pieces you want to add if you're going to use this set. Hyperdual refracting antiproton beam bank does come with the Nakul refraction, so something to consider there. And it will also be enhanced by the Bowl Sentry consoles, so that's something to consider as well. And the two-piece bonus is energy amplification, which is a 9.5% antiproton damage. Notice the word bonus does not appear here, which means this is what we call a category 1 boost. It's similar to the boost you get from a tactical console. Okay, so pretty small boost here from this two-piece set. Alright, so those are the Antiproton consoles and sets to support Antiproton builds. So, I hope you learned something. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to place them in the comment section down below, and I will see you next time.